It's bones upon bones.
Oh boy. Let's take it up from here now. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us right here on TVC Breakfast, Trending Now, where we take you around the world to show you what's happening online. But let's begin right here at home. Pastor Chris Okafor, you remember? He has withdrawn his earlier apology to Doris Ogala and other women, insisting he cannot apologize for actions he says he did not commit. The reversal refers to a previous controversy which Pastor Okafor had publicly apologized following allegations from Doris Ogala and other women regarding misconduct. In his latest statement, the cleric said he was under intense pressure at the time and maintains he did nothing wrong. Here's what he said.
Recall about some weeks ago, I came out to say, oh, I didn't apologize. I was under immense pressure by the reason of certain people around saying, oh, what I'm being asked to do is like accepting what I did not do. And I realized that it was greatly misunderstood. To it clearly, the statement, when I say any lady that was mentioned, I withdraw that. There is no single apology to that person, because I don't apologize for what I did not know, for what I did not do.
The development has reignited public debate, with reactions split between those supporting Pastor Okafor's stance and others demanding clarity and justice for the women involved. Of course, again, as usual, you had things to say, and here are some of those at this time. Baby Peter Obi, they have told him that for the fact that he apologized showed he was guilty. Now he's making a U-turn. Religious drama. He now has full backing of his congregation. No fear again. He has quackery, if I got that right, for Doris Ogala, and that one will soon raise another dust after reading this, his statement. I bet she will, you know. And this one is a bit of a long one, so we might skip some lines here. But Stephen is saying Pastor Chris Okafor withdrawing his apologies to Doris Ogala and other women is very disappointing and unacceptable. A true leader, especially a spiritual one, should understand the importance of accountability and humility. Apologizing is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity and respect. Women deserve dignity, respect, and to have their concerns taken seriously. I absolutely agree, Mr. Biodun Etoma and Ibrahim. We followed this matter, some weeks ago when it surfaced online. But it's surprising to then see that after the storm is calmed, everywhere is gone on, the pastor is now retracting his apology. The question is, was it really necessary for him to do this again?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is very ungentlemanly and totally unexpected from a cleric. I mean, the whole country saw it. He knelt down before the congregation, asked for forgiveness, and for me, I thought that was a sign of humility. I felt it was, it does not mean he was guilty of anything alleged at that time, but the fact of the matter is he recognized the enormity of the responsibility and the expectations, placed on him, as a cleric. So I'm surprised he's recanting. He's now claiming that he was under enormous pressure, or perhaps he would claim tomorrow he was under duress or one thing or the other to apologize. But the fact of the matter is this is totally unacceptable. It should never be a conduct, expected from a priest.
I agree with you 150%. I feel that if you have apologized, and because of that apology, the whole matter died down slowly. You would have just left it there. Bringing it up again makes it look as if you're seeking attention. And it also underscores the fact that before you became a cleric, you were a human being. So whether you were under pressure then to apologize, what kind of pressure are you now to recant the apology? It's just a little bit messy for a cleric to do a U-turn on things like that.
You see, when people feel that they are beyond reproach, then there is a problem. For you to have capitulated at the time and then you apologize because you saw that everyone was coming for you, and now that it has simmered, no one is even talking about it. Maybe Maybe he enjoyed the attention that he got at the time, that Nigerians, people were concerned, were talking about him. All TV stations are agog talking about him. And then he felt, no one is even looking my side again. And maybe it was just the other pastor who tattooed recently, and everyone started lambasting one way or the other. And he felt, I need to get back to that spotlight. People need to talk about me. I feel it is very, very mature, and it's something that is not expected from someone of that caliber. He should work on his ego, and he should realize that he's human. When you apologize, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of maturity.
Well said, Tim. And speaking of what is not expected of a matured man, our next story points directly to that matter. And this time around, in Cross River State, where the House of Assembly has indefinitely suspended Honorable Ovat Abo, I'm sure we should remove that honorable right there, following allegations that he assaulted his wife and left her seriously injured. The lawmaker who represents Obubra 1 State constituency came under public scrutiny after a disturbing video surfaced online showing a woman with severe injuries around her eyes.
And has refused to give her money to go for medical treatment. He left her and traveled, no medical treatment, nothing.
Now, from what you've heard, right, that the voice is alleging that the injuries were inflicted by the lawmaker and claims he had refused to provide money for her medical treatment. This development has sparked outrage on social media, with many Nigerians calling for justice and protection for victims of domestic violence. Now, during plenary, the Assembly described the allegations as serious and unbecoming of a legislator, announcing an indefinite suspension while investigations continue. The House also set up a committee to look into the matter and report its findings. The incident has renewed conversations about domestic violence and accountability among public office holders. And just yesterday was International Women's Day, and these were some of the matters that came to the fore. But of course, as usual, you had things to say, and Mba jumped on this. A lawmaker, what is all this disgrace everywhere? Just look at the type of human beings we elect. There should be a proper vetting on everyone who wants to occupy public office. That's the only way to avoid electing abusers, sex harassers, and drug dealers. Well, yeah. Holy truth. Power reveals what restrained ones hide. A man who controls laws, but not his fists, shows the comfort zone most fair. Unchecked ego, dressed as authority. Boy, you nailed it, bro. But Mr. Biono, Etoma, and Ibrahim, this is absolutely not a way to go.
No, totally unacceptable. You cannot beat a woman black and blue in this way. Look, believe me, I don't really think this is a matter for the House of Assembly, apart from suspending him. I think this is a matter for the criminal justice system. The police needs to get involved in this. Yes, we have not had the other side of the story, but I don't think there's any justification for doing this to this woman. And I feel the lawmaker should be prosecuted if indeed is responsible for this.
You know, personally, I'm so very angry over this because that is where I come from. And I know the gentleman, or the man, there's no need putting gentle before him. I know the man involved. I've known him for years. I know where he comes from. And I also know that where he comes from needs a lot of legislative intervention, because Obubra is not the way it should be. You know, it's one of the very first capitals of the region in Cross River State and so on. But let's leave the region and go to the man. I mean, how can you do that? How can you beat your wife, the woman you went to church and said, I do, the woman you pursued for a while, you know? And in beating her, you concentrated on the face that attracted you the very first time you met her. It is a shame. You know, and I think he should be in police custody right now, You know, yes, the House of Assembly has suspended him. That's the right thing to do. Do the investigations, and if he is found culpable, he should be. I think there should be something that can allow us throw him out. Yes, throw him out, and then have another election for his seats to be occupied by another person. This is a disgrace, especially coming from Cross River State. It's so annoying.
Honestly, very annoying, and I don't know how to describe this man. I think he's a coward. Because if it was a man, would he have faced the man? And you know, if you are fighting a man, he is understandable. But you're fighting a woman. I think if there's something I've learned about women and how to treat them, is what the Holy Prophet of Islam actually said about women. He said they are created from our rib, one of our ribs, and then the rib is actually crooked. So if you try to straighten it, you break it. And if you leave it the way it is going to remain crooked. So it means that you have to deal with women, you know, gently. You don't have to rough handle them. Even when they are obstinate, you do not beat them. The highest you will do is you don't go to them at night, if you know what I mean. You know, you deny them that right. So until they come back to their senses. And if you feel that it's never going to happen, why don't you just divorce honorably rather than raising your hand to beat the woman? What about you also talking to the elders, maybe the family, talk to your sister and all of that? But for you to raise your hand against the woman, don't you realize that a woman that is under distress, if she goes into the inner recess of her room and call God upon you, your life is ruined. Because God listens to the prayers of the oppressed. And for women, especially the women that are oppressed, because it's an oppression. You can't beat a woman like this, even a man, let alone a woman. This person has to face the full wrath of the law.
Absolutely, sir. And by the way,
and it has to be recalled as a lawmaker.
Indeed, just to correct what I said a bit earlier, yesterday was not International Women's Day, just that we had a conversation, you know, around the matter. But this is a really sad incident. I hope the law will take its full course and let this guy pay his due. But thank you guys for your contribution. Let's now move to our next matter this morning. A video making the rounds on social media is drawing attention to local manufacturing after a man recorded some of his goods showed made in Nigeria, a Thai production facility boldly branded made in Nigeria in Aba. In the viral clip, the man is seen showing tires produced at the factory, highlighting the inscription that confirms they were manufactured locally in Aba, a city widely known for its vibrant small-scale industries and manufacturing hub. The video has sparked conversations online about Nigeria's growing capacity for local production, with many Nigerians expressing pride in the development while calling for greater support for indigenous manufacturers. For others, the movement serves as a reminder of Aba's long-standing reputation as a center for innovation and enterprise, where locally made products continue to gain national recognition. This looked like a very proud moment for us in the country. Of course, you had a lot to say. And Chudubim, this how China started. I'm sure you wanted to say this is how China started. Small, they became world-class in production. I so much love this boy. I love it too myself. And finally on this, a bit of a long one here. Seeing things like this is very encouraging. It shows that local industries are growing and that people are beginning to produce and brand things proudly within the country. When manufacturing starts happening at this level, it means jobs, skills, and economic growth for the community. I must skip a few lines. Developments like this are a good sign for that Abia is moving in a positive direction and that local enterprise is gaining the recognition it deserves. Mr. Biodun Etoma and Ibrahim, for the fact that a tire to be used by a vehicle has a bold inscription, made in Nigeria. Man, I'm proud of that.
Yeah, it sounds so good when we are actually branding products made in Nigeria, particularly not only for our use, but also for export purposes. But we should also consider one thing, which is standards. The kind of standards we're used to in Nigeria is not what the rest of the world are used to. If you look at what they call made in Nigerian tire, I'm sure they are remolded tires, and those are the disused tires, remolded into something like a new one. But they should actually carry the label remold, not being sold as new tire. But no matter what, at least is a starting point if you are beginning to remold tires in our country. We used to do that in the olden days. You remember the days of the Odutola tires and all that before the Dunlop and other companies came in. So maybe this is a good starting point, but we should correctly label them as either remold tires and made in Nigeria so that people get an accurate description of what they're actually buying.
It makes me proud to know that we are having products that has made in Nigeria, proudly so, made in Nigeria. Now, it could be remold tires, it could be brand new tires, because Aba is just around the rubber producing area of Nigeria. So raw material is quite nearby. And I want to praise the boldness of the businessman involved. I guess that's his photograph on the screen. I want to really encourage other Nigerian businessmen to be proud of what they are doing in Nigeria. And for the government, this is an indication that the ease of doing business in Nigeria has to improve. Government has to be deliberate about supporting, especially manufacturers.
That's actually the picture of the governor of the state.
Okay, that's the governor of the state. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually nostalgic, because if you look at history, between the 1960s to late 2000s, Nigeria used to be a producer of tire. Remember Dunlop, which was done in Port Harcourt, Michelin in Port Harcourt, and Dunlop in Ikeja. They have their factory here in Ikeja. So Michelin actually folded up in 2007. Dunlop folded up in 2008. Nigeria used to be one of the largest producer of rubber until everything went down. Why? Because of electricity, because of all of these machineries. So we need to ensure that all these things are brought back so that we'll start consuming our local content. And I see that this administration and indeed the leadership in Aba, they're also looking at how do we revive our local content, because a producing nation and an exporting nation is a nation that has foreign direct investment very strong, has its economy thriving, and even employment will be created. So we should look very deeply into this so that we have our roads again singing with the tune of tires rolling over them.
That's right. Thank you very much, team, for your contribution. Now let's get